Today I share perhaps the most analog feeling digital camera you can buy, the Epson R-D1, which is a Leica M9 rangefinder camera. Coming up, 10 fun facts about the R-D1, my first impressions and a few sample photos. Similar to the Leica M9, this has a CCD sensor, so stay with me until the end and I'll share 5 reasons why you may prefer the Leica M9 to the Epson R-D1. Welcome, Matt here. As a former Leica M8 and Leica M9 owner and someone that reviews both Leica cameras and film cameras, I jumped at the opportunity to try the Epson R-D1. I've just returned from a European trip with some Patreon friends, so Toby had the R-D1, so I got the chance to try it alongside my Leica SL2S for some of the photo shoots. 10 fun facts about the Epson R-D1. The Epson R-D1 was first released in March 2004, so that's after my Leica M7 film camera, but before the first digital Leica cameras such as the Leica M8 and the Leica M9. The Epson was actually the first digital rangefinder camera ever made with Leica M-mount, and there was around 3 variants, the R-D1, the R-D1S and the R-D1X. Price new, these cameras cost around €2,500. Now the Epson R-D1 is a APS-C camera similar to my Leica CL, and it has the same 1.5 crop factor. The main difference to the CL is it's a 6 megapixel sensor, not 24 megapixels, and it's CCD, not the standard CMOS that we're used to today. On the back of the Epson R-D1 there's a neat little table that converts your focal length by the crop factor. So 50mm would be 75mm, things like that. Now the Epson R-D1 takes standard SD cards, but the max capacity size is 2GB. So if you do buy this, look for an old SD card. The Epson R-D1 is based on the Voigtlander Beta R2 film camera chassis. Similar to my Beta R2C, they feel very similar. Like the Beta R2, this is a standard Leica M9 rangefinder camera, so you can use all your Leica M9 lenses, and in terms of weight is around 590 grams. One big difference between the Epson R-D1 and say a Leica M digital camera is the Epson R-D1 has an advanced lever to cock the shutter like you would find on a film camera. I forgot to wind it up. The viewfinder and frame lines found on the R-D1 are the same as the Beta R2, so you've got your 28mm, 35mm and 50mm frame lines switch on the top. The shutter speeds on the R-D1 are also the same as the Beta R2 film camera, where you have 125th maximum flash sync speed and maximum shutter speed of 0.002 of a second. If you know your digital Leica M cameras, you know there are special editions that have no LCD, and then there are normal models that do have the LCD. The Epson R-D1 does both in one camera. You can flip the back so you can either have an LCD showing or have no LCD showing. Finally, the Epson R-D1 takes rechargeable batteries, the same as say your Leica M digital camera, and you can find third-party replacement batteries if that's something you're worried about. Okay, first impressions. First impressions, absolutely love the analog style dial on the top of the camera. When you turn it on, you get it kind of go as you turn it on. It feels in between using like a Leica M camera and a Voigtlander Beta camera. It's like right in the middle, like a sweet spot between a film camera and a digital camera, perhaps the perfect analog digital experience. One thing I found when shooting the models here in the forest yesterday, I was using it like a digital camera. So I was taking a picture, going to take a second picture, and I'm like, Dad, I didn't advance it. So you have to remember to advance before you can take the shot. So that did catch me out a few times. The other thing is, on the back of the camera you have a tiny LCD display, and I'm so used to like the modern LCDs on things like my Leica SL2S. I believe what I see. So I was taking a photo of one of our models yesterday, looking at the back of the camera, I was like, this is rubbish. So I only took maybe 10 photos, and then I'm like, this is rubbish. I'll put it away, get out my Leica SL2S. It wasn't until after that I saw the pictures on the computer and I'm like, this is a complete mistake. I can't believe I didn't take more photos with this camera, because the photos on the computer are so nice from the CCD sensor. I'll talk more about that in the conclusion. Talking of photos, let's look at some sample images. So these are shot with the Epson R-D1, and then I just made my own presets. I can put a link below if you want to get my Epson R-D1 preset for Lightroom. I use the 35mm Nocturne and also a 50mm. Here's some sample photos. As I say, I only literally took 10 photos and then I gave up because they looked so bad on the LCD. Here you can see compared to the SL2S, I'll show you a few more examples in a second. And there you can see me using both cameras first, the R-D1. And here's some example photos. Thanks to Toby doing the BTS, you can see him in the background, but these are only test shots. And now with the the Leica SL2S, which is 24 megapixel full frame. There you can see I tried to match the colours as close as I could with the SL2S edit to try to match the R-D1 photos you're seeing here. I love the colours from the Epson R-D1 CCD sensor, but without the SL2S. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, MrLeica.com, you'll know that I normally shoot black and white for my model photography. So here are some of my usual type of photos. These are all shot with a very modern lens. You'll see these in a video coming soon. Subscribe to see that. All on the SL2S and now here on the R-D1. Let me know in the comments if you can see much of a difference, and download my ebook if you want to learn more about model photography. Okay, 5 reasons why you may prefer the Leica M9 to the Epson R-D1. First, the Leica M9 also has the amazing CCD sensor, but now it has 18 megapixels compared to only 6. 2, the Leica M9 is full frame compared to APS-C, helping give you that more pleasing shallow depth of field, especially for things like portraits that I shoot. The Leica M9 is a similar size to the Epson R-D1, but it's built like a Leica M camera, so it feels a bit more premium. 4, being a more modern camera, the Leica M9 accepts SD cards up to 32 gigabytes instead of only 2 gigabytes. And 5, the Leica M9 batteries are probably more available compared to the Epson R-D1 because it's the same battery also found in the Leica M8. Worth noting, the biggest drawback about the Leica M9 is most cameras have the corroded sensor, whereas the Epson doesn't suffer from the corroded sensor. A big thanks to Patreon friend Toby, who let me borrow his Epson R-D1. As Toby is a model photographer like me, I asked him if he prefers the Leica M9 or the Epson R-D1 for portraits.
I actually prefer the M9, to be fair, because of several points. One of this is the viewfinder magnification. So you have a better magnification, which is a big benefit if you use longer lenses for portrait shots and bright lenses like fast lenses. So makes focusing much more easier. I tend to shoot a lot of 35mm portraits, and it's really hard to get light wide and fast 35mm lens on the R-D1 because of the crop factor. You actually have to get a 21mm lens, and all those fast options are quite heavy. And otherwise it's hard to get into the flow with the R-D1 because you have to crank the shutter after each shot. So even when you don't put the camera off your eye, it's a little bit shaky, you know, and you have to think about it. So it's harder to get into the flow. Even when the M9 is already quite slow, the R-D1 is slower than the M9. And the frame selector switch is another thing you have to think about, because every time when you change your focal length, you have to manually change the switch. The R-D1 has the same body as the focal length R2, so there is no option for viewfinder magnification, and also no options like those nice macro options from Leica, like the dual range 50. That's a down point for the R-D1, to be fair. There's obviously there's no sensor corrosion on the R-D1 like on the like it was on the M9, so you're safe. 10 years ago or 15 years ago, sorry, I bought my R-D1 for 850 euros. And nowadays it goes for around 1,500 euros used. You have to crop with both cameras in camera, because 6 megapixels is low end, of course, and even 18 megapixels is not plenty. So take care of your framing. 6 megapixels is really low end. So for print, it's not enough. But for like social media use, it's still more than enough, because I mean, you get 3000 by 2000 pixels, which is still okayish. One thing is obviously the display. It's pretty small, it's just 2-inch, and it's quite dark. So even when the M9 display is not modern nowadays anymore, but this is even older and even harder to see what you got. So the display is really a down point on the R-D1. But there's one big thing which is nice on the R-D1, and this is the little sync port on the side. So you can actually use every flash because you have a proper sync port, what the M9 doesn't have.
Thanks, Toby. I'll put a link to Toby's Substack below if you want to follow him there.
Oh yeah, stay tuned about the behind the scenes.
So what is the conclusion? I would say this camera probably is the perfect analog digital experience if you can get hold of one. It is such a sweet spot. It's like the exact middle between shooting digital and shooting film. conclusion, I would say I need to give the RD1 another chance. You can't trust the things you see on the LCD. It looks terrible. It looks really high contrast and like Minecrafty, like a few pixels, and it's like, is that my photo? But when you see the files on the computer, if you know your cropping and exposure in camera, you can get some really nice pictures. So yes, maybe I need to revisit the RD1 in a future video. Thanks Toby for lending me the camera. I'll put a link to my Leica M9 and Leica M8 video next, and hope to catch you in the next video.